Hi, you guys. I am so happy to be here with you this afternoon. Noon, 12 o'clock here in Las Vegas. For those of you that start to roll in, if this is a replay, please comment below #replay. Super helpful, right? It helps us understand what you guys are watching, if what we're talking about is relevant and you're interested in that. It helps us understand if you want more, things like that, right? So you will see us prompting you for polls and questions and things, really so we can understand how to better show up and serve you guys. So that's always very, very helpful. If you are just scrolling by and saw me today just in your feed, I would love to know where you're watching from, so you can also let me know, because that's always super fun, right? It's always fun to just be like, where the hell is everybody in the world? And where you guys are kind of watching from. Are you on your lunch break? Like, tell me more. I apologize if I seem distracted, but the mobile version does not let me know if you guys comment. So I'm just keeping my computer here nearby so I can take a peek if you have any questions or anything pops up. But really what, I just have some notes here because I kind of tease everything out and like dump it into the notes. And then I reorganize it so it makes sense for normal people, right? Because I'm a little bit loco in the moco with how I process things. And so if you are stopped and listened, it's probably because you might feel compelled to be in this space with looking at, okay, I need to really take a peek at what's going on with things behind the scenes of my life. And this might not be you. Okay, this might not be you. This is a conversation that I am very passionate about having with women, especially getting back into one-on-one coaching a lot more and just really seeing the roadblocks that come up for my clients. Gina's at work. Hello, I'm just gonna say hi to everybody. Gina's at the gym. Kristen said hello. Oh, you must be working out at the gym at work. And then Carolina is in Baltimore. Hello, hello. Kristen is in Washington. Okay, thanks for being here. But I really wanted to just bring it full circle back to the fact that if you've ever felt like you have 57 tabs open in your brain at any given minute and there's always something pulling for your attention, then this is most definitely a conversation for you, okay? Now, this is something that I think given the day and age, we can really fall into and not realize because we're so immersed in what it is that we're doing on the day-to-day to like take a second, take a pause, pump the brakes, and like, let's take a big picture look at what's going on. And I think because there is this pull for always the exterior, we can always feel like we're behind or we're not doing something or we're not being a good friend or a good partner or a good this or that because you're spread thin doing a lot of things for a lot of people. And if you signed up for the masterclass we have this Thursday, we're going to dive deeper into some of the things I'm going to be talking about today. So if you enjoy this conversation, if you're like, okay, yeah, this is like screaming at me, make sure to sign up. It'll be awesome if you're live. I'm going to be doing giveaways live. We haven't done this in a hot minute, so you're going to want to be there for the live, for gift cards and some fun things that we have in store. So just to go a little bit deeper, give you an idea of what I'm going to kind of chip away at with you today, right? I'm going to talk about the truth about your scheduling and energy. And honestly, this is my truth, but I find that it is oftentimes true for a lot of women that I work with. We're going to talk about a life audit exercise that I did. Like, this is kind of the culmination of probably about 18 months worth of me really spending a lot of time alone and realizing what the fuck is really important. And because I'm almost 50, I feel like it's important for me to share some of the lessons that I've learned to implore on some of my friends who, need a little bit of help. Okay. And sometimes that's a boot in the ass. And so I'm here for it, right? In like the most loving way, because hi, I'm working through this myself. The third thing is I'm going to talk about replacing some of the things on your list of stuff that drains you with things that are nourishing. I'm going to share some of the examples and some things that I'm finding as I'm sort of fumbling my way through this and feel like I'm through the weeds. And then I'm going to talk about an area that I consider like bonus life audits. All right. Now let's circle back. Okay, we're going to start with the truth about your scheduling and your energy, because I've always been of the mindset, if it's not scheduled, it doesn't exist, right? This is something that I have screamed from the soapbox for almost 20 years now to women and clients of, if it's not scheduled, it doesn't exist. But what I was missing, the secret sauce of what I was missing, is that the other stuff that takes up your time is probably where we need to take a look. And let me explain. You can plug your workouts in everywhere, right? It's not a matter of needing the perfect workout or the perfect macros, or I just don't have time. It's really 1 hour of your day. Really technically shouldn't be that difficult to find an hour of your day. But as I'm working with women, and then myself included, I'm realizing, holy shit, there is a lot that I am fucking responsible for. Anybody else? Type a 1 in the comments below if you're like, yeah, me too. Type a 1. So when it comes to that sort of big picture moment, you have to really take a look at like, okay, where am I spending my time? And listen, I did not want to look at this, okay? Because I knew that I was going to get overwhelmed, okay? I was going to get very overwhelmed if I sat down and I wrote down from the moment I blink my eyes open, which is what I'm going to ask you to do, is you're going to do an audit, okay? So I want you to look at your calendar and everything that you are responsible for. So think of it like when you start a new job, okay? I had these Invisaligns in, so if I'm like lisping and like drinking, it's because they're just so fucking annoying. But when you start a new job, okay, I know when we bring someone on our team, we're like, okay, here's your roles and responsibilities. And then with time, sometimes that grows, right? We add new things or we audit and we move things around. Much like your life, right? There's a season in your life where some of you are like, well, my roles and responsibilities are making sure that I order the groceries and I take Jimmy to soccer and I take Sally to dance. And then I've got to go to the dentist. And I've got whatever you do, whatever is this your assumed responsibility needs to go on this list. Okay. This is called the invisible mental load that we all carry. Okay. And there's going to be a lot of things that live on this list, right? You are in charge of the groceries. If you're in charge of like the cleanliness of your house, doing laundry, right? Everything needs to go on this list because everything has to get done. And so we have to take a deep look. So that's step 1. Okay. And if you are noticing as you're doing this, that you are obligated to do certain things and a lot of things are taking up your time and energy, that is going to leave you not super excited to go do your workouts, right? Agree? If you agree, type a 1 in the comments below, right? By the time you have ran through, you're probably tired. You're probably fucking tired. Just even thinking about all the things I just told you to think about and put that on. That doesn't even include the hours that you spend at work, right? So let's add that too. Wherever you have to be, if you have a church obligation, if you have anything, you are in a mom's group and like maybe you babysit once a week. I don't know. The possibilities are endless, but I want you to just free flow. And let me tell you, when you start that and then you go for a walk and you come back, you will think of 10 more things that you forgot to add to that list. Okay. So that's step 1. Okay. Step 2. This one is not as fun. Okay. Now I want you to look at the list, get a highlighter. Okay. Look at your list And I want you to look at everything that drains you. Okay? Everything that drains you. Unfortunately, for some of you, that is going to be your place of work. Hi, I did that for 10 years. I was on antidepressants. It was fucking miserable. I worked for a dictator who was a male chauvinist pig. And guess what? I had control. I could have left that situation. I chose not to because I didn't feel like I had the value that I knew I did. I advanced myself in that career, if you will. I eventually started doing the registered nurse's job. Like, hi, this is illegal. Because he knew he could pay me half since I didn't have the degree. And I absolutely dreaded going to work. I'm going to tell you, if this is you, this is your gentle, loving nudge. It's time to take a pause and let's think about what else can you do, because we have so much more control than we think, right? It does not require a degree. It does not require you to be a brain scientist or rocket scientist, nothing. So looking at everything on that list, look at everything that drains you and highlight it, okay? Now, not only the things that drain you, but something I had to take a look at is what on this list makes me feel resentful. That is such a gross feeling, right? When you see something and you're like, ugh, and then every time you do that thing, you're like, ugh, and then you start to like not like that whole, you live your week knowing that something's coming up and it just is not fun. That doesn't sound like a good time for me. I don't know about you. One thing that hit me really hard was I started a new mentorship with a new business coach who I definitely felt super aligned with where I am in my life. Okay. Kathy Heller, she's amazing. She doesn't only just do business mentoring. She does a whole lot of things. If you guys know who Kathy Heller is, please type a yes or she's a badass in the comments below. But she's fantastic. And one thing that she had said was, I don't know about you, but I'm really impatient. And I'm like, okay, where's she going with this? Right. And she says, I want everything like done faster than it probably can be done. And, I'm loading my kids in the car and I'm like the most impatient person. And I'm like, you guys knew I was leaving. Like, and she says she gets kind of jacked up about these things. But the other thing that she had to really lean on because of her impatience was that she wants to feel happy and, joyful and have energy and all these things daily. She doesn't want to be impatient and like put that shit off till later, right? Like, I want to be happy now. And like when she told this story, I was like, like my mind was blown. And I thought, yeah, I want some of that. So doing the life audit, really going through, taking a bigger look, getting real with yourself, doing the hard work. Maybe it's going to therapy. Maybe it's talking to a really good friend. Maybe it's figuring this shit out on your own because you know that this is not how you want to operate and feel in your life. And sometimes that pain is temporary to the next step. But for the most part, we do have a lot of autonomy and control over the things that we do. And so when you're looking at that list, the other thing I want you to really take a peek at is what else feels like an energy leak, because those are everywhere. They're everywhere, right? So if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, things like that, or honestly, just like a successful woman in general who is managing her life, juggling all these balls in the air, is I had to say, where are my energy leaks? And these can be in multiple places. These can be it could be somewhere with your finances. It could be somewhere in a relationship. It could be something that you are doing, right? Something that you don't even realize you're doing, but you're doing. And oftentimes it really requires you to simmer down and take a second to watch a video like this and hear from, other women who are also experiencing these things. But when you are pairing through your list, it's super important to notice what sticks out, that you are just like, yeah, I could be good without having to do this thing, or being in this role, or being responsible for this part of my household, or, whatever, something. Write it down, no guilt, permission slip, you can do it, okay? And then here is my favorite part, okay? And this is the most uncomfortable part, and I learned this technique really from business mentors way years back, probably 10 years ago, where you need to sit down and you need to figure out, what is it that you want to keep doing? What is it that you want to delegate? Okay, because it needs to be done. It needs to keep the wheels on the bus of your life moving. And what the fuck do you need to delete? That's my favorite part. I'm like, what do I need to delete? Deleting is fun. Subtraction, I've never loved subtraction so much in my life. When I can look and say, I'm not doing that anymore. I refuse to feel like I need this anymore, to like own up to some weird status. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? So start looking at that in a very tactical way and thinking about where you can start to minimize that list of things, because this is super important for the next step, okay? Now, the next step is, once you have cleared up some of these obligations and delegated and got rid of some space on your calendar for things that do not support your energy or your vibe or your mindset, right? Because people that are negative that you hang around with daily, I'm going to tell you, they're like crabs. It's like this theory. There's crabs in a bucket. The bottom crabs, they're always pulling the top crabs down. They're just trying to get to the top. They don't give a fuck. Okay. So your job is, where are the crabs in my life? Sometimes they're people. Okay. This is also part of this entire exercise. So once you have gone through your audit, your life audit, okay, I want you to sit down, blank page. Okay. Blank fucking page. The world is your oyster. And you're going to start to write down. I brain dumped this down because I didn't want to forget any of this. But I want you to think about joy producing activities, things that light you up, things that are restorative, things that you don't do anymore because you're an adult and, you know, adults aren't able to have a whole lot of fun. What are those things? I'm going to share what mine were. These don't have to be yours, but maybe it'll spark something for you. For me, I love plants. Okay. Can you guys see all these beauties in here? The one behind me is fake, I will say, because I started my plant journey. I was a little bit scared. I'm like, let me get at least somebody to support, you know, these are the supporting characters for the main character here, but she is indeed a synthetic plant. But all my other plants are real plants. I took 2 years of plants and gardens in high school and I fell in love with it. There's something, bear with me, there's something about being in the dirt and like touching the earth and taking a plant and like putting in a pot and caring for it and the energy, and it like helps with the air in the house, like so many positive things, which I'm also going to share as a metaphor for life here in a second. And then the other things I'm like, okay, that would be easy, right? Like, oh, it's so intimidating. You go to buy a fucking plant. Well, guess what? Now I've bought like 15 plants in the last like 2 months. And I am so happy. It's so joyful. I come in and I'm like, oh, how are the girls doing? How are the ladies? Do you need a little sip of something? Are you thirsty? Like, they're my friends. I talk to them. I give them love and I pour into that because it's fun. And it's just, you know, I'm being silly. And then the other thing that I know that I have shelved because I'm an adult and I have to do important things is my love for dance. So when I moved here, I decided I'm going to start taking pole dance lessons. So I got back into pole dancing. I love the studio so much that now I teach there once a week for shits and giggles because it fills my cup up. I love it. I would do it for free. And I love the women that come in and I've established fun little relationships with them. And it's the highlight of their day. I'm like, oh, that just like fills my cup up. You have no idea. And then I realized that there is an unmet love that I have not fulfilled, which is regular dance, because I poured into my daughter for, you know, she's almost 30, since she was 3 years old, into all the things. Who else? Anyone else? Type of one. If you're the mom that's like, I got Jimmy in soccer when it's soccer season and basketball when it's basketball season and football and all the things. And then Susie's over here doing piano and ballet and they're doing all the things we could never do, right? At least for me, that wasn't a reality for me. And so now I'm saying, I'm going to clear up some space on my calendar. I'm going to heal my inner child and I'm going to do some dance. So guess what I did? I went and took a hip hop class. My very first, actually, I took a couple classes with my sister probably about 20 years ago. And literally it was an awful experience and we never went back. And I've never taken a formal dance class. So I said, I'm going to sign up for hip hop. You guys, I went to hip hop last week on a Wednesday. It was an intro to hip hop. I was absolutely hands down the oldest woman in the room, the oldest person, because it was a mixture of humans. I was 100% the oldest person there. I wasn't the worst dancer. That's all that matters. That's all that matters, okay? I wasn't the worst. And I really quickly came to see, like, if I could just release expectation of like needing to be good and have fun, like this experience is so joyful. Like, why wouldn't I do it more? I'm like, there's no pressure for me to do anything but just to show up and like goof off and have some fun and enjoy the music. I met a sweet young lady in there and it was a great time. And this is something that I'm committing to. So looking at what is missing, what have you put as like, ugh, I don't have time for that. That's, you know, that's definitely, I don't have time for fun. I don't have time for these leisurely activities, you know? Yes, you do. I'm going to show you how. You're going to audit your life and you're going to start to trim the fat, because bad bitches, they have to trim the fat, because you can't be a bad bitch. You can't show up in your life as a boss bitch and like have control of your life and the direction it's going and what your body, how it shows up and how it operates if you don't trim the fat. And so another vulnerable story I'm going to share with you is one that I shared on the podcast recently, which for me, trimming the fat was taking a look at a lot of things, right? All of these things I'm sharing with you, but one of them was, where am I spending my money, right? If you listen to the podcast that dropped yesterday, it was a part 2, and then the other episode dropped, I believe, last Wednesday. I talked about how I have 69 pairs of underwear. Do you think that's necessary? Do you think 69 pairs of underwear is absolutely not? It's disgusting. I'm ashamed. There's no need for that, right? And I really started to have to take a look at these things last year, because it was probably around October, November. I was laying in bed one night, you know how this goes, watching TikTok. And I really want to do a podcast on TikTok taught me all these things, because I have a laundry list of things. Like TikTok is an amazing platform if you use it properly. And there was a gal on there, and she was talking about her journey in her consumption reduction journey. And I watched that in bed, and I immediately had to get up and go and like count things, because she was calling us on our shit, much like I'm calling everybody else. And her topic at that moment was, she was discussing how she realized that she had, I think it was like 14 eyeshadow palettes. And then she kind of went down the list of things, right? We accumulate all these things. You know, I always say I'm the girl that loves to grab herself an iced mocha or whatever, a latte, and walk through Ulta or Sephora. Like, you can leave me there for 3 hours and I will be absolutely entirely happy. And I will leave there $300 poorer. Okay. So I got up and I did my own inventory, and I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. And you're like, Diane, what does this have to do with my health and fitness? It has a whole lot to do with your whole, let me tell you, because when you realize how much you're spending on dumb shit everywhere that doesn't really bring you joy, you're like, I need to trim the fat so I can buy some plants and be happy. All right, I can go do some hip hop. I can go do yoga. I can go do weight training. I can do all the things that I need to do to show up as a human who deserves to be here and enjoy life and have a healthy experience and just have a magnetic aura about you, right? So I go to my bathroom. I find out I have 7 conditioners, 4 shampoos, 3 deep treatment masks, 4 oils, right? All of this nonsense. Yes, this is a lot, but I don't need all that excess. The store is down the street, okay? I can go at any time. There's a CVS on the corner. I can go grab whatever I need. But every time I'd be out, I'd feel the need to just fill my little heart with stuff everywhere. And I talk about in the podcast how one of those big things for me was letting go of a luxury vehicle, okay? Now, first world problems, absolutely. However, this is something I just want to at least air out, is that if you find that you're constantly drained, you don't have time for this, you don't have time for that, you aren't taking care of yourself, all these red lights or check engine lights are going off, and yet you aren't pouring into yourself with restorative things, with health and fitness things, but you have the latest Gucci bag and the latest this and the latest that, and that's your priority. If that makes you happy, beautiful. Great. Because I had like a ridiculously expensive car. It's actually still here. I'm returning it next week, but I have a ridiculously expensive car. And this is not a flex, okay? It's annoying because I've had it for 3 years. I'm going to tell you, it has caused me more anxiety and frustration than having the vehicle, thinking it was going to make me feel like a bad bitch. I'm just going to be 100 for you right now, okay? The payment is ridiculous. The insurance is ridiculous. I've replaced probably like 8 or 9 tires. All right, let's be real. I've had to replace all of the rims. I've had to replace the windshield. I hate driving it. It's not comfortable. All because it looks sexy and it has the little BMW logo. I don't care. So she's going back, and I talked about in the podcast how I've had a Jeep for over 10 years. It's paid off. I love it. I mean, I get lit up talking about it because it's so much fun. The reason why I bought that Jeep, okay, and this is relative to this conversation, is because when we went to Hawaii when I was married, and we took the kids on a Hawaii trip, okay? I had just, my business was doing great. I'm like, let's fucking go. I could never afford anything like that before. It was like one of our big family trips. And we get to the rental car place, and we had a choice between renting a Jeep, and I think it was like a Dodge Charger or something. And I said, let's do the Jeep. That kind of sounds fun. And we took the top panels off, just a couple of them, drove around. I could have been in that Jeep driving around on that island for hours. Absolutely filled my heart with joy. It was just beautiful. It felt like vacation, and I enjoyed every single bit of that. And every time I get into my Jeep, it brings me back to that experience. So all that to say is that if you want to keep something in your life because it adds to your life, if carrying around your Gucci bag makes you feel amazing, once you put the bag down, when you walk around your life and all that, and you're not stressed about how you're going to pay your bills and how you're going to keep up this luxury lifestyle and all this stuff, then great. That's your story. That's your direction. That doesn't resonate for me anymore. And I'm really here to just kind of serve as the person who's gone through the thing of thinking that things are going to be the answer to my happiness, when it really is the relationships that you keep, the ability to keep your energy clean and not infected by other people's energy, and really taking a big hard look at your life from a wide lens, right? Holy shit, we got to really look at what's going on here, right? So the finances is one that I wanted to make sure I gleaned over, right? Not skip over that, because it's super important. I sat down with my bank statements. This is something I encourage you to do. Sit down with your bank statements, sit down with your credit card statements, whatever, however you spend your money. And you need to take a hard look at everything. Take a look at your subscriptions. What's worth it? What are you using? What haven't you used for 3 months? Get rid of it. Boom, off. It is off of your energy radar. Get rid of that shit, right? What do you look at and you're like, having this thing isn't really worth it, right? That was one I had to come to. The BMW was not worth it for me. It was not worth it for me. I could not justify the joy that it brought me. Was not so much that it justified, the juice was not worth the squeeze, right? And then the stuff, right? Look at the stuff. Are you an accumulator of stuff? I was guilty. If you're an accumulator of stuff, please type a 1 in the comments below. If you love stuff, this is Stuff's Anonymous, all right? I feel you, okay? I love to go to Home Goods. Oh my God, I love me a Home Goods moment. And I just want to be in there, and I want to touch everything, and I want to bring everything around, and I want to say, oh my God, look how cute this is. Oh my God, that's so cute. I live for that. But I also am fine going in there and walking out with nothing, right? If I bring anything home, it really has to serve a purpose and energetically make sense. I just don't want shit around just for the sake of having shit. And it is so refreshing when you can do that. It's nothing matters like that, right? It's just not, it doesn't matter. So the last thing I'm going to talk about that needs to be audited and is definitely the hardest. So if you've gotten distracted, come back to me here. Tell me if you're resonating with this. Type a 1 in the comments below. Let me know what hit hard for you. I would love to know. I'm reading the comments over here because I have my laptop, and this last one is going to be a difficult one. Okay. But taking a look at the relationships in your life and doing an audit. Okay. So back to the first thing I had mentioned, which I said, taking a look at everything you do, all of your roles, all of your responsibilities, everything that lives rent-free in here because it is your duty to be in charge of. Okay, it needs to go on that list. We talked about paring it down, doing, delegating, deleting, refilling the space with things that restore your energy and like make you radiate like the bad bitch you are. And then the last thing is from the moment that you blink your eyes open and the interactions that you have to have with humans throughout the day, I want you to think about who all those people are and write them all down, right? From your spouse to your children, to your family, to your coworkers, to your boss, whatever naturally is in your constant aura of energy that you know you are going to have to deal with. Okay. Now, when you look at that list, I want you to look at who drains the fuck out of you. Okay. You'll know immediately. I know exactly who those people are for me because I would know. The reason that this started becoming an awareness for me, and I know that I'm super fired up, is because it's made such a change in my life, is because I've had people reflect it back to me. So I've heard from certain like people that are close to me that say like, you act like irritated when this person's around, or like you're hanging out with that person, or you're with this family member or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's what that is. And so you have to really get quiet because you will notice that when you interact with certain people who are not an energetic match for you, where you're like, this person, for whatever reason, you'll feel a different way. You'll interact a different way. You show up a different way. If you feel like you have to show up differently than this for anybody that you interact with every single day, that should have a question mark by it. Okay. That should have a question mark by it. Now, I know relationships and they're people and you can't just like control, alt, delete them from your life. And that's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that if you have relationships that are constantly draining, that are constantly leaving you feeling like shit after you interact with that person, right? It has knocked you off your mental, wonderful aura. Then there needs to be a couple decisions that had to be made. And this is what these were decisions that I put in place. Okay. One is sometimes you can't help that, right? In certain situations. Now, when it comes to jobs, I do think that a lot of women need to stand up and they need to speak up more, right? Like, I wish I could go back in time when I worked for this male chauvinist person who ran a dictatorship and would throw shit at me. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. And I worked there for 7 years. I wish I could go back to the girl there in that position and give her the words to say with power and not uncertainty, because I like know my worth, right? And just say, I don't necessarily agree with that. When's the last time you've said that to somebody? Let me just ask, because Jack was just here. Jack's my partner. He's my boyfriend. We're in a long distance relationship right now. And he was here and we were on a walk. And I honestly can't remember exactly what the topic was. And as he was talking about something, I knew immediately that I did not agree with his stance on something. And oftentimes women like to be agreeable and we just want to, be nice and like, oh, I just didn't say anything. I don't do that. So I said, I don't really agree with that. And then we just had a conversation about it. And then we moved on. And then I knew, like, I don't have to feel armed in this conversation anymore or just sit silent. Like, we can dialogue about that, right? Like, and I'm still alive to tell the story. But I think a lot of times we don't want to upset people. And so we sacrifice our own energy, our own mindset. We put our feelings in our pocket for a minute and we could just oblige and just, listen to what everybody else says. Like, I'm so over being that girl. Like, I was that girl for like 30 years and it's all coming out now. You're welcome. So with that, I had to take a hard look. So just to recap, at your relationships, right? Who drains you? Who, when you leave their presence, makes you feel worse, right? Now, this isn't to say you aren't going to show up as a shitty person sometimes. Hi, we have our moments. Everybody goes through seasons. But what you start to notice is the trend. Notice the trend, the overall trend. right? If you have a friend right now that is going through some shit and they're draining your energy, listen, I've been that friend. I have had those friends. And also there has to become a time where we're like, okay, we need to do something about this, okay? We've been talking about it long enough, and now instead of talking, we need to take action. And like, that's it. Just that first step is just some action. And so sometimes being that voice for your friends or the people around you is enough to like shake up that relationship between the two of you, where they're going to realize like, oh, she doesn't want to listen to me complain about my life all the time and how much I hate my husband and, you know, all this other shit, like stuff that's going on. Unless I do so, I need to do something about it, right? I need to do something about it. Like take action, do something about it if we're not happy. So with me, it really became an exercise of desensitizing myself to difficult conversations. And it was very challenging. Type of 1, if you're like, yeah, hi, I avoid confrontation at all costs. I'm a people pleaser. That was me. And desensitizing myself to having the difficult conversations, right? Like, I'm going to be better for it. This person's going to be better for it. And sometimes you need coaching to help you massage how that's going to come out. You need a therapist. You just need somebody else to help you on the delivery. Because when you've never done that, listen, when I started becoming a little more assertive and like speaking my mind and saying how I feel and fighting for what I want and all these things, because I'd suppressed that for so many years, it was very disorienting to the people around me. I'm going to tell you that right now. So when you start speaking up for yourself, or you start showing up for yourself and making decisions and taking control of your life and doing these things and evolving into the next version of yourself, not everybody's going to be on board with that. And that's scary for some people. But the people who know you and love you and understand you, they're going to be your MVPs. And that's really what matters. And the people that don't, they weren't your people anyways, right? That's what I got to just keep reminding myself. But when I first started, it was like a bull in a china shop. I was like, it was just like, it would just come out. And I had like almost no filter, and it was just not a good look. Okay. And so I really had to say, okay, let's figure out how to work conversations and constructively to have difficult conversations with a myriad of human beings, right? From my partner to my children, to my parents, to my ex-husband, to my team, to my best friends, all of the people, who do you come in contact with? Who drains you? Who do you have to show up as somebody else? Who do you feel like you need to have a conversation with that you're avoiding? You might be wondering, what does this have to do with clearing my schedule and like making time for myself? Because when you start to draw a line in the sand and let people know what you will tolerate and what you don't tolerate, you will free up a lot of time. Okay. And so with that time, because you know, you're like, I don't tolerate that, right? Like I know certain people in my family, just because they're my family, there's certain members I don't even associate with, okay? And then there's other people who I love dearly and I know they mean well, but they drain the fuck out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm 100% for real with you. And so I spend less time with those people. And when I do spend time with them, my dialogue is like, let's talk about good things. Let's talk about the positive things. What's going good in your life? What's new and good? You know, and then they bring in their negative stuff and I'm like, what are you doing about that? Watch how the room gets silent, okay? Well, what are you going to do about that? Nothing? You're just going to keep complaining about it? Okay, great. Well, at least we're on the same page now, because I was hoping you were going to do something about it. But you can't know what's good for somebody else, right? You can only know what's good for you. And if you know that when you're surrounding yourself with certain people, or your work environment sucks, or your partner, you're really just holding on by a thread because you feel like it's the right thing to do, when you show up for yourself, like it opens up the world for you. I've seen it happen time and time and time, countless times for women that I've worked with, right? They come in and they think they're coming to work with us just to get fit and get in shape. Let me just clarify for you. When you come to Venus, you are getting a whole mindset upgrade. Okay. So if you're in person there and you're getting the energy live, you're getting like Coach Glitter loving on you, Coach Monica watching your form, you know, Kaylin's in there just being the paparazzi and everybody's like your biggest hype girl. That's what you need. You need that energy. Okay. That's the kind of energy. And it might not be Venus. That might not be in your town or your cup of tea, but wherever you're at, right? You got to find that group of humans that is like on that same energy level, right? Like hanging out here with us, right? We're on that vibe. But I think doing the deeper audit of your life and really seeing where the energy leaks are is huge for you to have success in your health and fitness journey. They're tied. They're all very tied together. You're not going to have one without the other. And this is coming from somebody who has been on a bodybuilding stage, you know, 16 times and has had to live a very extreme lifestyle and still juggle 2 businesses, being married, 3 kids, very active children, 2.5 dogs, like all the things, white picket fence. And also like, you know, realizing that when you start to realize your own, the fragility of your own like mortality, it is very eye-opening. And I think this starts to happen as you get to a certain age and you start to see people your age and you're like, wow, I went to school with this person. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like they were like the head, you know, they were the head cheerleader, or they were this, or they were popular. And, you know, you're over here and like, I'm over here drinking my greens, doing my weight training, you know, trying to like be my healthiest, hottest self. And being in a room with people of similar age who are not taking care of themselves. Okay. They are not, they are going to live a very difficult life because of the choices that they are or not making currently. And I am no angel. I have been victim to all of this stuff, but really knowing that it stems from what's going on in your internal world. What's going on in your internal world? All right. Where is it that you're not showing up for yourself? You're placating and pouring into all these things, but yet your cup remains completely dry. So I'm going to leave it with that. But before you head out, okay, if you like this, if it held you captive, if you're like, give me more, Crystal, one of my best friends is a therapist. She's been working with women for over 20 years. I think it's like 22, 23 years. She's almost a doctor. She's trying to get through her doctorate program. She's on her dissertation and it's like, we're just like this close, right? Cause it's like a team effort. I'm like pumping her up every other day. Like how close are we? Right. But her practice is so busy that it's like a catch-22, right? She's trying to finish school, but she's like slammed with one-on-one patients. And she's so graciously decided to come on and do a masterclass with me because clearly I'm on fire about it and I'm passionate about it. And I think that it's something that a message and the work that more women don't have access to and or aren't doing, because you can pay any coach out there. You could pay anybody for the most perfect weight training plan, which I have, the perfect diet plan, which I can give you, but none of that is going to stick if you aren't doing this stuff, like this stuff where you're like figuring this shit out. Because the second you hire a coach and you get a plan, if you haven't taken care of the fire that's behind you of all these things that I'm mentioning, you are going to have a hard time making this a lifestyle. You're going to have a hard time being a healthy person through the rest of your life for health and longevity. And that's really what I care about, right? That's what I care about. I care about that for myself. I care about that for everybody who takes a moment to listen. Is absolutely you're going to be the hottest bitch hanging out with us. It's a byproduct of everything we're going to tell you to do. But the hard work, if it's not sticking for you, if this isn't a part of your identity and your lifestyle and how you show up for yourself and get to yoga and get to your mobility and go take care of any aches and pains and check engine lights that come on, you're going to have a hard time sticking to any kind of new habit like a health and fitness routine. And if you have read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he was recently interviewed and somebody just point blank asked him one simple question. And they said, out of all the habits, if someone was to take just one habit out of your book, what would be the most impactful? Does anybody have a guess? Take a guess below. What habit would be the most impactful for the rest of your life? You know what it is? It's auditing your relationships. Not not a joke, okay? It's the people you spend the most time with. Who do you spend the most time with? Those people are going to determine how likely your habits are to stick. So when I'm saying to do these audits of all of your roles and responsibilities, look over your finances, do a relationship audit, they all have to happen because they all are a part of everything you do every single day. And so it wouldn't make sense to do one without the other. And so when we go into this masterclass on Thursday, it's this Thursday, the link should be somewhere here. But when we go into this masterclass on Thursday, you're going to find that we're going to do about this much talking about exercise, okay? And macros and, oh, you just need to have willpower. No, we're not talking about any of that. All right. We sat down out here on my porch and curated. I said, I'm a woman with burnout. What are you going to ask me as my therapist? And we just started riffing. And I said, okay, go deeper, one level deeper. What's that about? Go one level deeper. So we just like ping ponged and we came up with some this is no ChatGPT bullshit. This is us collectively, 20 years of health and fitness and also being people's therapists, like not getting paid for it, okay? Working with clients and the therapist and collectively working with, at this point, me, thousands of women. I'm sure for her, it's probably getting up there. And what we see to be the biggest struggles, it's not that, you need to go get on Ozempic and you need to wear a weighted vest and you need to do this. Like, yeah, those things are all great. But let's talk about the bigger problem. Let's talk about the deeper shit that everybody's avoiding. So when you sign up for the masterclass, we're going to have a workbook for you, a beautifully curated space for you to write and journal and go through the questions with us. And it's going to be very conversational and cozy. And we want you to pull up with a little blankie and a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever the fuck you want to drink and a pen and just lock yourself in a closet if you need to and come and do the work. Like, come and do the work with us, right? So we'll take you through this. So this isn't just you listening to Facebook and not taking action, because this is what we want to do, is like start to provide that forward momentum. Really, it's really that first step that's the hardest. And then you gain momentum, right? It's the inertia of that first step. But when you sit down and get real with yourself, sometimes some people aren't ready for that. And you might not be ready for that. But when you do, it's clarity. It's clarity. And it's like, oh, okay, now it's time to get to work. This is what I need to work on. And that's the real work. And honestly, this has kicked up a lot because I recently did a one-on-one consultation with somebody. They hired me to just sit with them and just say like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I had them do my full intake. Okay. So from everything like supplements, all the things, like as if they were going to work with me as a client along with their progress photos. And I sat with them and for an hour on Zoom and we went through it, and I go through it in advance. It's kind of like their intake information, right? It gives me a clear idea of what they're doing for their training, how much they're sleeping, how much alcohol they're drinking, like all these things. And then we sit together, and I actually recorded the call, and I'm going to see if I can, maybe use some snippets, but I want to be respectful of her privacy. She was doing everything right on paper, And there were 3 key things that I said, these 3 things, if you don't get these things fixed, your body's never going to change. You could keep doing everything you're doing right now. And I'm going to tell you, because I've worked with women exactly like you, and we've changed these 3 things, and their entireness about them had changed. And then guess what? Their body decided to finally join the party to lose weight and put on muscle and get ready for potentially a competition. So it's really important that if you are feeling like you're stuck or you're not seeing progress in any of your area of your life, fitness, health, life, relationships, future goals, dreams, anything like this, is a great workshop for you to just sit with yourself, with us, some other women who are also really energetically excited about that stuff, and go through it, right? I can't speak enough about how excited I am about it, because these are all things that I have had to do myself personally, and also have to face the reality of it. So we would love to have you there. It's this Thursday. It's going to be on Zoom, and we'll email you the PDF booklet the day of, so you have that handy. I just don't want to spoil it. I just don't want you to get ahead of it. I want you to be in it with us at point of. I don't want you to chicken out. Okay, I want you to show up for yourself. I encourage you to be there live if you can. We're going to be doing some giveaways, some possibility to have some like one-on-one hot seat coaching if you're feeling brave. And it will be really good for you to have the energy of the collective that day, right? The replay will be great, but I think being there live will be super important for, especially for live bonus giveaways. So it's this Thursday. It's May 29th, 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. Link is in the bio, and I can't wait to see you there. Hopefully. Who's coming? Let me know if you're coming. Add it in the comments below. I'm going to take a peek over here. I have my laptop here because I know some of you are chiming in. Mary says, oh, Mary, we miss you. I hope you're doing well. She says, I am so ready for this. This is the hard stuff I need to sink my teeth into. Yes, absolutely. This is the hard stuff. Simone says, because of you, I started therapy and journaling. Thank you. I love that. I love that. So whatever episode that was that prompted you to start therapy and start journaling, that was the reason why I needed to do that episode. I firmly believe that. It's super important when you guys give me feedback or you give us feedback on things that are helpful, it's like telling us yes, more, and, right? Like yes, more, and what else? Like yes, more, please, yes, more, and. And so a lot of times as content creators, right? I consider myself a content creator, is we don't know what's landing, right? This is landing for me. I'm fired up about it, but how are you guys feeling about it, right? So it's super helpful when you give us feedback. So thank you for that. And then Simone says, agree, very few people take care of themselves. 54 here. Yeah, and so one thing, final thought I will give you is that I'm not responsible for this actual like perspective or quote, but I was listening to somebody in the health and fitness space, and they said, what's more impressive than walking into a room with the latest fancy shit, right? Gucci bag, Saint Laurent, Versace, like Leo Skeppy says. What's more impressive than walking into a room covered in brand name is walking into a room being in a healthy and fit and confident body. Like that to me is a status symbol. To me, being able to walk into a room and feel comfortable in my skin. I don't have to be shredded, but I'm healthy and I'm strong. And like that to me is more important than any handbag or fancy shoes could ever be, because when you know how hard it is to maintain that normally and actually be about yourself so much that you care to pour into yourself, that's a status symbol that says I give a fuck about me because I show up for myself even when I don't want to, right? And that's really what I want for all of you, is like showing up healthy, fit, strong for the rest of your life, looking better and feeling better and stronger and being healthier than everybody in your age group, because this is what's going to get you to the finish line with the best quality of life. It's not just how you look, it's the best quality of life. Okay, I love you guys. My armpits are sweaty. Apparently I was a little jazzed up. So we gotta go. We gotta put some deodorant on. But I love you and have a great day, and I hope to see you on Thursday.